Welcome to this Solid Edge podcast, bringing you quick and easy tips and tricks from the experts. Many of today's 3D CAD programs have display tools that help you trim your display of visible parts and sub-assemblies so you can focus on your design task. Solid Edge ST3 now lets you include new components in multiple display configurations, even when parts are added after a display configuration was saved. I'm joined by Doug Stainbrook to show you how.
In this brief demonstration, I want to show you a use of the snapshot configuration. First thing I'm going to do is just switch the configuration. We're going to concentrate on this wheel assembly where we want to add a bolt subassembly. First thing I want to do is in place activate into this subassembly where I want to add the bolt. Go to the parts library and we'll find our subassembly that we want to add. And this says capture fit, so we can just apply the different relationships. And I can see that it came in backwards, so I'm going to go to the axial alignment and we'll just flip that over. At this point we want to pattern that subassembly based on the bolt hole pattern in the wheel. Now keep in mind that these bolts that we just added are not part of the configuration that we just applied. If we reapplied that config, those bolts would get turned off because they didn't exist. So what I'm going to do to get around that is just create a snapshot. Because remember, with ST3 we can add more than one configuration at a time. So you can see it turned them off there, but if I turn on both configs and apply, of course those bolts are turned back on. And at that point then I can actually just go to this configuration and I can update it. So now it will contain those particular components. Now if I switch back to the all parts and apply that, you can see it's not part of that config. So another way to do this is to go into the configuration manager, and you can use the tool that we have in here to find the next new component. This is going to find all the components that have been added since the configurations were saved. And then at that point you can see that the O1, the one that I applied, I resaved, those are turned on. I also want it turned on in this very first configuration. Turn all those components on. There may be other configs where I want to show those components as well. I'm just going to select a few of them. And I know ERA is another one where I want to see the configurations. Or these components, I should say. So now these are no longer new components that aren't applied to a config. I've applied them everywhere I want them. So at this point I can just turn those off so it won't find those again if I run that tool to find new parts. And now if I come in here and I reapply the configs, you're going to see that those bolts are actually in fact included in those different configurations.
Thanks for the tip, Doug. I'm sure lots of customers will find it very useful. To learn more, go to siemens.com/solid edge or call your local Solid Edge channel partner.